Probably when they're in high school, they're almost done now. I'll be busy working. So there has to be a balance. For me, there has to be a balance. I try to shut my mind sometimes just to create room for creativity as well. So I work naturally about 13, 14, 12, sometimes even 8 when I decide.
All right.
It depends.
Okay. Mushemi?
I think I will explain a bit of it and say on the awards. So up to midnight. And so I was working up to midnight last night. But I think that is how to sum it up. Delegate to the right people and relax and work less. And focus on building new ideas, better structures, better processes, and so forth.
Wow, thank you. And let's celebrate him for a minute. The CIO Award is an incredible award, and we celebrate you. Just before you say one more thing, last year we had Tabitha Karanja as one of our speakers, and just yesterday she actually got an award in Morocco, which they're calling the Oscars of Africa. So we speak with giants. So this is the Great Talks indeed. Well done, well done. You wanted to add something?
And today is...
I know. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to break that news as well, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so as Muchemia said, it's at the beginning there's a lot of hours that have to be put. So for me right now, I would say I'm at the balance level. So I'm not putting crazy hours, but again, as an entrepreneur, be ready to lose your social life. You don't get it like everyone else, let's go to the movies. I am available. No, it's not going to happen sometimes. Most of the times, actually. Let's go and have fun in Naivasha. No, you can't. But even as much as you delegate and you have the right people in the business, and this is a problem we have as entrepreneurs, you still want to do it yourself. You feel like the other person hasn't, there's this perfection thing that, I still want to go through it, spend sleepless nights, and, perfect it. And I don't think we need to do that. And that was one of the things that I suffered from in my journey, getting detached from your passion. Guess what? It's your baby, but even your baby has to grow. The moment you start trusting other people, the moment you start giving ownership, then you can sleep at night. So I have slept at night.
Okay. Fantastic. Wambugu, would you have something to say before we open up to the audience?
I thought maybe mine would be irrelevant, but still let me share because maybe there are people in here who face the same issues. I think my day is about 9 to about 11 hours. And the lower end is, the reason of the variation is because of a problem Vusi, requested the Deputy President to comment about, which he didn't, which is our traffic. So I'm in the office 7 o'clock. I'd love to leave at 4:30. Sometimes you haven't finished off what you needed to do. So I have to wait for the traffic and maybe leave at 7 o'clock. And I don't like to carry work home.
Mm-hmm. Wow, okay. All right, we're now ready to take questions from the audience. Do we have somebody who has a microphone already so you can just stand up and shoot your question immediately? There you go. Please introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi, my name is Crispus. I'm a second-year university student in University of Nairobi studying law. My question is about e-commerce. You just said that every business now is a technology business. We are all affected one way or another with technology. And now in Kenya, with companies like Jumia, Kilmall, OLX and stuff, they're all going to e-commerce. But for a startup or someone who wants to start an e-commerce business from scratch, what will be your best advice around it? Because if you compare with Jumia and other companies, they're really backed up by multinationals with endless supply of money.
Thank you very much for your question. Mushemi?
I would like to respond to that question because I'm in electronic space and one of our sectors of processing is e-commerce. E-commerce provides a unique opportunity to start small and scale. You can essentially start selling your boots or just specialize in anything you may think. So it's still a huge opportunity. As it is today, the reality of e-commerce is not taken off in Kenya. It's really at its formative stages. We still, you should not be intimidated by big brands like Jumia and the rest. You, as an entrepreneur, have to do it different. You have to just know that time to start is now, not tomorrow. You cannot wait for another year or another month, even another week. You just have to go out there, print out a business card, buy a domain, and begin. So there is a huge opportunity. There are lots of, if you look at the e-space, we had MySpace before Facebook came. And Facebook came and now MySpace is history, sort of. So you have still the opportunity to begin. In fact, you can do it better because you can learn. You can use the opportunity now that they are there. You can learn from them, do it better, do it different. So begin now.
Thank you.
Let me add
Hilda?
one more thing. The e-commerce is a big space and the opportunity is massive. And I keep on telling people who are starting up and you think because the big players are already there, then there is no opportunity, is you need to understand, one, what is the problem you are solving? What is the itch you are scratching? And once you figure that itch and the problem, the intimidation should be the least of your worry, because you will have validated your idea, done your research. Maybe you'd want to start with the community around you, your colleagues in university. They need to transport or whatever. They need to trade within themselves. So start thinking about the environment around you and the problem you're solving with e-commerce. The other key thing is research. Research, because the problem I've had with the young people, we just want to do it because we are seeing OLX advertising crazy amounts of money and they have backups, then you want to do it. And I think that's the wrong reason of doing it. So once you've validated your idea with research and you have the right problem and what you're solving and the business model, I believe you can always get guidance to help you to do that, because the opportunity for e-commerce is massive. Everyone wants to trade. People want to buy and sell. So start looking around you before you start looking at the big boys.
All right. Thank you very much for Hilda. We've got another question. If you have a microphone, please stand up where you are. Yes, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, my fellow entrepreneurs.
Good afternoon.
My name is Anthony Chantry. I have a company called Simo Deals. So my question is, we are all so much focused on how to start up. But now I already started a few months ago. But my challenge is on what measures I should take as you keep on selling and as you keep on growing. Of course, we all see people who started from somewhere and then they got to the top. But now the challenge is that as a sole proprietorship, you are all alone and you don't have ideas on how to manage your finances and in terms of how to go to the next level. And also, my second question is pertaining taxes. So as an entrepreneur, what kind of taxes do you need to pay at what stage, and at what stage should you start paying taxes in order to avoid maybe having problems with the government? Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Wambugu will respond to that question, but first you must pay your taxes. Wambugu.
Maybe let me start in a very basic way, start with the taxes. So if he's a sole entrepreneur and he doesn't have employees, you just work out your profit. And at the end of the year, 30% you pay to the government. That is the income tax. Of course, some of the other taxes you pay by default. So if you buy things, there will be VAT in them, and you don't have to do anything. Only if you are a certain level of revenues, you register for VAT, you can reclaim the VAT that you have paid, but then you also have to pay VAT on what you have sold. I think if you then employ people, one of the things that can kill you is not remitting the taxes on their salaries. There's a tax called PAYE, which brings me to the next question that you see you're all alone. Where do you get ideas? I think number one, it's what I was actually saying earlier, that you probably need to find people
To have made Talks 2050 experience. Is it?
African politicians, you have to know how to sing actions. So he can't sing, senor. He's very serious. And what were you looking down at here, Vusi? What? I think this seat has some wisdom. Wacha nikalie. You know, of course, in business, this look successful guys have, eh? You know, thank you for that question, Terian. And what I can say is, this look is a successful look, eh? If you see someone looking at you like this,
So I was approached by Dr. Kiano, who was then had been appointed Minister for Commerce and Industry. This is within the month of my return. When I was still, he had helped me in my going to America. He had just returned himself as the first PhD in Kenya to return to Kenya before I went, and so I had met him and wanted to see him this evening. And he said, look, you have returned, you are with ESO, look and find experts and expatriates. We are just looking for someone to head our Industrial Development Corporation. And I think you are the person because I studied industrial engineering. I had a master's in industrial engineering. The money was not much, but the attraction of participating in a newly independent country, and you know, those of you who may have known Dr. Kiano, he was very persuasive. And I told him, look, my boss in ESO, I don't even know what to tell him. Here I am staying in the Norfolk, which with my family, they flew me in first class, gave me a tour of Europe and all those places, paid for fully. And how do I explain to them that I am moving to the government? I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but I think some of you young one might want to know a bit of this background in view of where you are going. Because as I said, if you want to stay an entrepreneur, avoid a job with somebody, because it's very difficult then to leave once you start living on salary. And I'm aware of the question asked to James. So James, please stay on the job because your focus is good and you're focusing on the right thing. So finally, he said, no, don't worry, we'll deal with that. And a day later, I was called and I was an interviewing committee. Outside my cottage in Norfolk, in a garden, those of you knew Norfolk as it was, with my family inside, I was invited outside. And there was a permanent secretary for finance, who was at that time John Butter. And there was permanent secretary for industry, who was also a European. And there was the executive director of industrial cooperation called E.T. Jones. And out there, we were set up with some table and tobacco in the garden in Norfolk. And they offered me the job. For today's money, you would think they offered me a salary of 10,000 shillings and per month. That was a lot of money at that time. And a lot of other benefits that go with it, not much. But it sounds little now, but it was a lot of money at that time for a young man with a young family. And of course, the glamour of participating in a newly independent nation. And I said to them, look, who will tell my boss that I'm leaving when I'm still here in this cottage? They're paying for it. How do I handle this? And those of you who, none of you, I suppose, would have known John Butter, the PS Treasurer. He retired soon after that when people like me took it over, I think it over from him. he was smoking cigarettes with that little stick that he stuck there. He puffed up twice, he says, don't worry, we will deal with that. And that was the end of that story. They talked to my boss, and I had my 5-year leave of absence, and I continued to live in the hotel, and all the benefits I had enjoyed were for free, and no acrimony, I didn't have to go. And in fact, they gave me possibility of returning after the 5 years and go and continue working with the business. And that, to me, was a change. So I went to be head of the Industrial Development Corporation. You know, perhaps you don't know, ICDC Investment Company, which is today's Center. That company was formed. First of all, we had to change the IDC of Industrial Development Corporation. Remember, at independence, the banks closed lending. If Aidan Mohammed were, he would tell you, the banks were not lending. There was no money. And you had to get African traders in business, and they could not go to any commercial bank. So we had to change IDC to ICDC, Industrial and Commercial Development Corporation. IDC is common. Even in South Africa, you find IDC. Wherever the British were, there was Industrial Development Corporation. It's the same format. So it became ICDC in order for us to be able to finance traders, which is where the need was most. You got to remember that in Nairobi was, the African trader was not trading in Nairobi. Those people from South Africa would know how the division was. You could trade far out there if it was in where the African stayed, you could have your little shop. But in a city center, there was no possibility by law. This changed with independence. Now, for the Africans to be able to get a shop in the River Road, he needed a little bit of support, some loan, and also money to acquire stock for that shop. And that's how IDC changed to become ICDC. So we started giving commercial loan, not only in Nairobi, but in any town. Any town throughout the country, there was a division. There was a place where the African traded, and there was the heart of the center of the town. If it's Kisii, it is the center was either European, if there were, or Asian, and then African was somewhere. To bring them into those trading centers, they needed finances, and that was the job I was doing for the 4 years, my first 4 years. But to make the story short, after doing that for 4 years, I decided to go back to private sector, and that's when I joined East Africa Industries as technical director for a couple of years, and I became the managing director, and then I became executive chairman of the business. And as you see, with all that, the idea of going back to being in business and doing a business, which is what I wanted to, became a little bit difficult, because the advantages and the perks of a chief executive are a little more attractive. So you keep away from doing what is really exciting, and you miss it. Then I retired some 20 years ago, and I thought that is the time I should go into business. And I started a little bit business, and that is a business that has got some investment in UAP, where we are shareholders. We have other businesses that we do. That is in that situation that I went back now to doing what I wanted to do when I was young, and which is what I should have done when I was young, and I'm enjoying it. Let's put it that way. And those of you who are sitting here as entrepreneurs, I'll say stay the course, avoid any job that gives you attractive salary, stick to knitting, and you'll be all right. As that lady who was doing the design, stick to knitting. Don't go and get yourself a job with any of the attractive businesses, because it will be very difficult to extract yourself from that. I want to thank you. I thought I had to give you that background of my experiences in entrepreneurship and business. But my main purpose for standing here is, first of all, to thank you all and to thank, in absence, our Deputy President and the Cabinet Secretary who opened this forum for us, and for the wise words and of advice, wisdom that they say to us. And I hope you found it useful to you. As entrepreneurs, this country is in a change. If you take it from my experience, from where I say we came from, when we were trying to get a group like this, I tried and I traveled every inch of this country looking for entrepreneurs. And the traders you see in any marketplace, whether it's in Kisii, whether it is in Bondo, whether it's in Machakos, wherever it is, I visited those places, trying to persuade them to expand their business. And they were delighted to see us, and also assist them to buy stock, to be wholesalers, because there were no African wholesalers, build them up. And those who wanted to go to industry, we launched, it was launched by President Kenyatta Sr., what we called industrial estates. And of that industrial estate, if you go to BAT, across there, it is the first industrial estate that was launched. I went to India to study the model. And I'm mentioning this because I still said it, and our current president, that we still to lay great emphasis on that, because that would be a nursery. And that's how India developed from trading country to now a nuclear power. They started industrial estates, guided by the government all over the country, giving an industrialist an opportunity to set up a factory in a set arrangement. Just like you go to a shopping center and you find it's already designed, you buy a shop or you buy a plot and build. But for an industrialist, there is no place where you can go and find an easy setup for you to set up an industry in an industrial area where facilities do exist. So we started this industrial estate model, and I had experts from India at that time. Remember, I was young, quick, and on my feet, and able to go and get this sort of connection. And all this I did in the period that I was there for a while. And I say the government should still provide and carry on that model, provide sites with facilities for you when you want to set up an industry. So you have a ready place where you can go and get a plot or even a building, perhaps an industrial, you come and build factories which you can let, you can rent from him, build them to let, and some other people rent them, those who are setting up. We still need to push for that, so you have a ready place to go for those of you who want, if you want to manufacture the dresses we are going to make, you probably do not have a place in a factory to go and make it ready.